I wanted to share some thoughts with y'all that I'm having after seeing two shows that are now on the Hulu site, and these both are shows which feature scam artists. These are shows that feature the rise and fall of con artists, people who tried to sell everybody a bill of goods, and were eventually found out and were eventually brought low, although perhaps not as low as they should have been brought in the case of at least one of them. The two movies that or shows that I'm talking about are one about. The first was about Elizabeth Holmes, the founder of Theranos, or Theranos. Sorry, I'm getting all these names jumbled together. It's a sign of early onset dementia. And the other is about I can't remember the cat's name, but the guy who started WeWork, and the scam that it turned out to be, and how he was basically taking advantage of a bunch of people, and selling them a bill of goods, and so when the response that you have to both of these shows is interesting, because you see them, you're watching them both in a way from the perspective of the con artist, and in a way you sympathize with the con artist because you see certain things about him or her that are, positive personality traits, or that make them, sympathetic in one way or another, or make you aware of their insecurities, or just other things, that other aspects of their personalities that humanize them. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. I think, a nuanced take on people who do, on bad people who do bad things, I'm not against that. Some people would say that that's, that it should just be absolute black and white, but nothing is absolute black and white. The worst person you can find, has good traits about them, and the best person you can find has significant flaws as well. So with both of these shows, and they're both fairly well made and well acted. I think the one about Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos is slightly better, but I would say that it's at least it's close. They're both compelling enough. They were compelling enough for me to watch all of the episodes of each of them. And so these are not the first shows, these are not the first movies ever made about characters like this. And what I'm trying to articulate right now is how I feel about the fact that these kinds of shows are churned out by the entertainment industry, which I think is deeply evil at its core, and is, to call them con artists is giving them maybe too much credit, or making them seem much more benign than they actually are. I mean, this is a pit of evil. The entertainment industry is, but so is the heart of politics. So is the heart of corporate power. every node of power, you will find at the core, at the center, I believe, some pretty brutal and awful and nefarious sorts of activities, just done habitually, and the kind of acts that are committed by these people. The people who do these kinds of things don't think they're doing anything wrong. I believe it's part of their psychology, and this is something that I wrote about in a couple of things that I've written. There's a certain passage in my book, Conspiracy, Compliance, Control, and Defiance, in which I discuss the mindset of this, or what I believe to be the mindset of this group of people. My speculation, anyway, as to their mindset. I titled this section of the book "The Reptilian Ruling Class," which was a mistake in retrospect, because everybody got all hung up on the reptilian part. Like, oh, are you David Icke? Are you saying you're shape-shifting reptilians? No, but what I meant by the use of the word reptilian was to describe their what they are like on the soul level, not the physical level. So anyhow, and they say we have a reptilian brain, that we all have. That's a part of our normal physiology. I don't know how much to believe these evolutionists, these evolutionary scientists who think they know everything about how we developed, but I'll be willing to just stipulate that maybe that there's some truth to that anyway. But bring it back to the subject at hand. I started to wonder, as I was watching both of these fairly well-made shows on the Hulu network, I started to think to myself, what is the real purpose that is served by the entertainment industry showing us these people, telling us these people's stories? And I'm not claiming that there is some kind of uniformity, that all the writers and all the actors and all the all the key grips and all the members of the crew, and every producer or every higher up person. I'm not saying that they are all evil people, but maybe just how does it ultimately serve the system at hand to show us movies like this? And of course, the answer to that, there's no simple answer to that question. But it's something I believe is worth pondering. If we believe, or if we stipulate, if we take it as self-evident, as I do, as I've grown to anyway, that again, this industry, which isn't just one industry, it's an industry that is deeply interconnected with all major industries and all major nodes and sources of power, deriving from what could be called the deep state and its adjacent institutions. What purpose is ultimately served by showing us these people? What I believe the purpose that gets served by movies like this, or TV shows about these kinds of people, is, I think that it, in a way, takes attention away from the fact that it's all an evil scam. on the lowest, deepest, most core level. That, you know, people like Elizabeth Holmes and the WeWork guy, whose name I don't recall right now, you know, as much as they try to tell us that these are, you know, these are the real sources of corruption in power. No, these are just outliers who got caught, or who maybe they did. Maybe it wasn't even a question of them getting caught. You know, maybe it was decided that they were expendable, and so they were their scams, the scams that they were running, eventually got exposed because it was determined somewhere, you know, somewhere on high, that was the thing to do. I know to people who don't, you know, to people who are new to thinking in this way, or who don't think in this way, I understand how hearing me articulate something like that can come across as paranoid or overly conspiratorial or whatever. But I believe something changes when you get, I don't want to say when you take the red pill or something, you know, corny like that, but when you are afforded this peek into the abyss, and you know, you don't look into the abyss because you want to. You don't look into the abyss just to answer at least one critic that I know is out there. You don't gaze into the abyss in order to think that you are a good person, or to think that you stand out from other people, or for some silly reason like that. At least not. I mean, maybe some people do gaze into the abyss for that reason, or out of, you know, some unhealthy attraction to evil and darkness. But I can tell you that for me, knowing the true identity, knowing or sensing, feeling the actual identity of these, you know, the beast within the system, deep within the system, that taking a gander at this phenomenon, you know, whatever kind of you know, unhealthy or morbid sort of curiosity you might have had before, when you see it for what it is so beyond distasteful. It is so so disgusting, that you just don't want to think about it anymore. You want it to go away. You want to keep it out of your consciousness. You know, when it really exposes itself to you, or when you really become aware of it in some way. So there's something almost comforting about what in a way gets peddled to us in shows like the ones I'm talking about con artists, about people who achieve a lot of power through dishonest means, and who are ultimately hollow at their core, and amoral, and just trying to scam others for their own benefit. To see an actor like Jared Leto or Amanda Seyfried, to see them portray these kinds of characters, who are running these scams, and like pulling the wool over the eyes, supposedly, of the rich and powerful, that that they are, attempting to or pretending to represent. The viewer is left thinking, well, these are the real corrupt people. These are the real scoundrels. These are the people that we should look upon with distaste, because the scams that they run hurt innocent people and reveal this moral bankruptcy, when in fact the whole system, if you want to call it that, the whole beast at its very core is all of the things, all of the negative attributes that we attribute to these characters, these anti-heroes, or these villains, that we are exposed to in these kinds of stories. These people are just pikers. They're nothing compared to when you get deep down to where the real power is. Where the real power is, there's going to be, they're not going to make movies about. Where the real power is, you're not. I will bet you anything that we'll never see a Jeffrey Epstein movie. We'll never see a Jeffrey Epstein, docudrama where someone plays Jeffrey Epstein, and other people play, celebrities that accompanied him on his plane to Lolita Island, where they would commit statutory rape against young girls. You're not going to see a movie like that. Why not? It's got scandal, it's got intrigue, it's got, it's got all the ingredients of what you would think would be a compelling movie or compelling television show, but you're just not going to see it. And I'm aware that Jeffrey Epstein himself is probably just the tip of the iceberg. There are much, much worse people doing much, much worse things, the deeper and deeper you get. But somehow the effect of shows like this, and I'm not holding everybody, again, like I was saying a few minutes ago, I'm not holding everybody who played a part in these shows, I'm not holding them all responsible for this act of pulling the collective wool over our collective eyes, or refocusing our attention on scam artists who are, and convincing us that these are the real nodes of corruption, the real sources of corruption, when the real sources of corruption are go well beyond them and are so protected by all of the institutions of this, by every institution, all the gatekeepers, all the supposed law enforcement agencies. They wouldn't ever touch these kinds of people for the dreadful things that they do to other people, to innocent people, to children. They simply wouldn't do it because they're deep down they're corrupted too, right? But also, even if they're not actively participating, the real role that they play, the real role played by an organization like the FBI isn't, and other alphabet organizations, isn't to prosecute those committing crimes, but it's rather to protect the ultra powerful at the expense of their victims if necessary. So that's my take on the functionality that is served by these kinds of shows, like the two that I've mentioned, and there are others like them as well. So what do you think? Am I right? Am I wrong? Let me know. Leave your comment below. My name's Andy Nowicki. You can check out my work at ultrarightnovelist.com. My latest book, The Insurrectionist, can be purchased from terrorhousepress.com.